All right, you're listening and or watching the Journeyman Podcast, episode 34, with me, Tony Lamarca,
And I'm Ted Dietrich.
and we are the Journeymen. Well, Ted, how is public transportation down in Florida?
Public transportation's great. I just probably didn't count for it taking as long as it did.
Yes, as one of our pastors here at Northway likes to say, public transportation is the gift of time.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it, but it also saves a bunch of money.
Yes, this is true. So what did you do in Disney World today or in Orlando? Where all did you go?
Well, I actually started my morning off at the hotel, and we just kind of explored there a little bit, figuring things out. And then from the hotel, we went ahead and took the free shuttle bus to. Sorry, I got distracted by Twitter from Kathy Yoho. Took the free shuttle bus over to the Magic Kingdom, found the transportation center, and then took the public bus, the Lynx, from there to SeaWorld, where we switched buses to get near Universal Studio and then walked about a mile to the front gates of Universal.
All right. Well, I caught half of that on the audio recording side because I forgot to start it, but that's okay.
Well, it's a fun story. Basically, I took public transportation, figured out that, yes, you can get from Disney to Universal, though it's not very well advertised by anyone, and got to Universal and then spent the day checking out Universal for the first time with my sister.
Sweet. I have never been to Universal. I was in Florida once when I was younger. We actually took a train from Pittsburgh to Orlando, and that was a long ride. And we went to Disney World. And I think the only things I really remember about Disney World were Epcot. That was fun. And I remember going to a Mexican restaurant there. And I also remember I got to be on stage for one of the things where you get to do like all the Foley sound effects for like a cartoon show or something like that. So that was fun.
Yeah, I think the new version of that is a Drew Carey thing where they do the sound effects, but yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
The Drew Carey stage floor. Or at least that's what was a couple of years ago, the last time I was here. So,
Cool.
but
Well,
yeah, tomorrow we're looking.
go ahead.
Tomorrow we're tomorrow we're looking to go to Epcot and do some of the Disney stuff for a change, and then on Friday we're going to be heading to the Islands of Adventure. We kind of snuck in there today because we have the pass where you can go back and forth, but Friday is my sister's birthday, so for her birthday we are going to be hitting up the Hogwarts area, letting the wand choose Erica, and just kind of having a good time in Islands of Adventure for her birthday.
Cool. Well, I'm going to turn your gain up a little bit because on the recording side you're a little softer than me. So give me 1 sec.
All right.
Go ahead and check.
Check, check. Hey, Tony, how does it sound now? Does it look better? You still need to go up?
I'm going to give it a little
Check,
more.
check. All right. But yeah, so, it's fun. It's kind of interesting. We have more days here than we have paid for admission to the park, so at some point here we are going to have some restful days where it's just kind of hanging out by the pool and maybe hitting up downtown Disney or something, but it'll be fun.
Nice. I must say I was a little bit jealous when I saw your picture sitting by the pool for your morning devotional.
Yeah, it was a nice morning devotional spot. Not quite as nice as the rooftop area in Nicaragua over the summer, but it's amazing how when you're up before the parks open, it's pretty empty in the hotel area.
Yep, that I can see how that would work out. We're definitely missing you back here at home, but you definitely deserve the break, and that's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk about this evening, and it's really about rest and work in general, and what it's like for people who either work at a church or just even if you don't work at a church, your life can get really busy around this time of year. Starting in the fall time, you've got Thanksgiving things with the kids, or Halloween, or Harvest Fest, all kinds of crazy stuff that starts in October, and then goes through November. You start getting Christmas rehearsals and everything else. If your kids are in some kind of pageant or something like that, they're going to start having more and more rehearsals leading up to that. And then when you get into December, I mean, if you haven't done your Christmas shopping yet by then, you've got all your Christmas shopping to do. You've still got all kinds of events to get to through Christmas or through December. I mean, there's Christmas concerts that you might want to go to. You might want to go see a play or something like that. You still have church on the weekend, and you still have work during the week. And so life tends to get really busy around this time of year. And I think it's important for us to really still find space within all that busyness. We can't just wear ourselves thin, but at the same time, we can't just give up on our responsibilities because we say we need a couple of days break or whatever else. I mean, we're still responsible for things, and so that's one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight. Ted, what do you think about that?
I would definitely agree. And I'd say another thing is you can't count on other people to make that time for you. Whether when I worked at Best Buy before working at the church, you know, we started hitting this time period. It was a blackout period. You weren't allowed to take vacation. You were working lots of extra hours, and after the holidays, you kind of realized how many hours you were working when you went back to the normal workload, because all of a sudden you had half the hours you used to have. But it's one of those things where it's really easy to get caught up in everything that's going on and just running around and just doing one thing after another, and then realizing a week, 2 weeks later that, oh, I don't think I've had a day off in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I think, like for us, we work at a church in the production department. We both have pretty much the same schedules, and we're coming up to the season where we're working almost nonstop, whether it be creating sets for our Christmas series and concerts, or rehearsal times, or just the standard stuff that doesn't stop just because we're leading up to Christmas. And I mean, Ted took advantage of this time to take some vacation time and head down to Florida because he knew going into the season it's going to get hectic. And so he's kind of soaking up all this rest time right now and getting amped up to jump back in.
Yeah, my thought was if I could come down here and relax for a week, coming back and jumping into the craziness before it's built up to full steam, it kind of lets me build into that and have the relaxation ahead of time so that I'm not going off of already having hectic weeks ahead of it.
Right. And one of the things that I mentioned earlier is even though we want to have rest and we want to take a break from all the craziness that happens at this time of year, and for some people it might be a different time of year. I don't know what your seasons are like. We can't neglect our responsibilities just because we're tired. And it's important to, like Ted said, you have to make that time to find the rest. So if you have to rework your schedule a little bit so that you can get more rest earlier in the mornings, if you're going to have a lot of late evenings, or if you have to say no to a couple things, it's important to still find rest within your weeks. I mean, your boss isn't going to just say, "Hey, why don't you take the day off?" I mean, you might have a great boss that'll do that, but I think 9 out of 10 times you're not going to have someone say, "Hey, you've been working really hard this week. Why don't you go ahead and take tomorrow off?" Usually it's more like the scene from The Office where Bill Lumbergh's calling him at home. "Yeah, hi, Bill Lumbergh here. Just wondering where you are. It is a work day. I'm going to need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday, too. That'd be great."
Oh, The Office. That's one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite desktops I found recently was actually a picture of the Windows Standard background with the green field, and then the three guys beating up the printer.
Yes. I actually have some ringtones on my phone that are some of the theme songs from The Office, and I like to wake up to those every once in a while.
Yeah, Office Space is great. I still think I love watching you know, the beginning scene when the guy's in the car busting out some gangster rap and just going along with it, and then people are just looking at him. Exactly.
So, um, I just lost my train of thought. Derailed.
Okay, have my stapler, please? Okay.
I,
I think you have my stapler.
I burned the building down. Um, so, Ted, you're on vacation right now. What's your schedule been like since you left work yesterday?
Since leaving work yesterday, we drove to the airport, got to the airport a couple hours early for our 5:30 flight, flew from Pittsburgh to Baltimore, which is a very short flight. We were up in the air where they were serving stuff for 15 or 20 minutes. That's it. Landed in Baltimore, had 45 minutes to an hour between planes, and then flew to Florida. Then took the wonderful Disney Magical Express bus service, which takes you from the airport to your resort if you're on a Disney property. It was great because it's free, but we got in at 10:30 at night. By the time we had luggage, we got on the bus at 11 and didn't leave there till like 11:30. So we got into the hotel room sometime around midnight last night, and there were fun little Disney surprises like the towels laid out on the bed in the shape of a Mickey head. But so it was a pretty busy night, and then we sat down and figured out what we're going to do these first couple of days here, just so we had a basic game plan for today.
All right. So, did you run into any of the $10 hot dogs down there, or was that just a fun Twitter tag?
Well, we haven't made it in the park yet, but I do know that I saw at Universal the hot dog meal, which came with a hot dog and a drink, was somewhere around $9. So, with that being Universal, I am fully expectant to tomorrow look through the park and probably find a $10 hot dog at Disney. But yeah, lunch actually wasn't that bad. My sister and I, we bought one of the refillable souvenir mugs because it was $8 and you get a refill for $1 instead of spending $3 every time you want a drink. And then we bought a whole pizza from a restaurant in the park, and it was, I think, $20 for the pizza. And well, like pigs, we ate all of the pizza, and I probably ate more of it. Let's be honest. So we ate the pizza, and that was good and held us over until just getting back here, where my sister grabbed a little bit of food for us.
Cool. I wish I was there, but we're actually having great weather up here in Pittsburgh this week. And how long are you're going to be there through next week too, right?
Well, we'll be flying back in on Halloween. So I've packed my Halloween costume with me. I will be flying back to Pittsburgh as Harry Potter, I believe. But
Nice.
from what I saw in the forecast you posted the other day, it looks like it might be snowing when I land up there.
Yes, you might be flying into some snow on Halloween. Um, I I was trying to think of when the last time it snowed on Halloween was, and I feel like it's when I was a lot younger. But I was told this morning that it was actually last year, and I don't remember seeing snow on Halloween last year. Do you remember snow last year?
I don't. I'd have to go back and check the weather for that, but I just remember last year it didn't snow a lot, so it was a pretty mild winter. I was excited about that, but that made me figure this year's probably going to get us twice as hard just for how easy we got off last year.
Right. Yeah, maybe it snowed somewhere away from where I was, but I don't remember. I think it was chilly, but I don't think it was even cold enough to snow. But hey, who am I to argue?
Yeah, I found some pictures from 2 years ago, and I know from those that it wasn't snowing, but last year, I'm trying to even think what I was doing for Halloween last year. I don't even know.
All right. So I'm actually going to spend some time tomorrow checking out some vehicles for my mom. Do you have any suggestions, Ted?
find her a vehicle she can afford.
Well, got that under control. I've already found a couple online that I'm going to check out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I did just recently look for a vehicle, but my main consideration was price at that point in time. I'm a big fan of anything all-wheel drive, uh, but I mean, really, I just think cars have become a very big status symbol for a lot of people, and I'm trying to learn more and more through humility that it doesn't really matter so much as long as it gets me around safely, and it'll protect the people I'm trying to transport.
Yeah, it's funny that the one thing you mentioned is all-wheel drive because that seems to be coming up in conversation quite a bit. That's when my mom first started talking to me about needing a new car. That's the first thing I went to. I said, well, I think we should look at all-wheel drive cars, especially with the kind of winters we have around here. And I met with my mentor today, and he said that he'll probably never buy another car that's not all-wheel drive just because of the. Not only does it help with the acceleration in slick conditions, but you also get better traction in turning and stopping, and so like you can actually stop a lot sooner with an all-wheel drive vehicle than you can with a two-wheel drive vehicle, which is interesting. So thinking about taking a couple test drives tomorrow, just because I have an idea of what my mom wants and what she likes in a vehicle, and hopefully I can find something that is within her price range that's going to last a long time. I'm going to be looking at some Subarus. I'm going to look at some Hondas, some Toyotas. And I tend to lean towards the Subarus, but I also don't have something just picked out right now in my head because I want to find what is going to fit her best. Whether it be all-wheel drive or not, I know how she's going to feel in the vehicle, and I want her to be comfortable, but I also want it to last a long time. So.
I think a good key there was find what will fit her best.
Right.
Because, we could find lots of great vehicles, but if it doesn't fit what she's looking for, well, they don't really help much then.
Yeah, and this actually kind of helps my desire to. I always like trying out cars and stuff like that, but I can't afford a car. But it actually gets me out, and I could do some test driving, which is one of the things that I like to do without feeling like a burden. Like he's not going to pressure me into buying the car. I'm test driving, and I'm not even going to give her the options until after I test drive a few different cars, and so they can't pressure me into anything.
No, and you don't have to feel like a burden because it's not like you're just going to test drive them for fun. There's a good, valid purpose behind it.
Exactly. And I think this is probably a great time to start looking at cars too. I mean, if you are driving a car right now that is breaking down and starting to cost more than it's worth to keep it up and running, this time of year is great because a lot of the dealerships are starting to try and get rid of all of their inventory to make room for the new 2013 vehicles coming in. And at the same time, you have a lot of people that haven't gone through Dave Ramsey courses that feel like they need a new car every year or two. So there's going to be a lot of 2011s and 2010s and even some 2012s that are used on the lot. So they've already taken the main hit in their value, but you're going to still get an excellent car. So it's a good time to be looking at cars if you need one. And since my mom needs one, I get to go look at cars.
Excellent.
So those of you that are watching on YouTube, I've seen a couple comments come through, and we kind of get these updates. It's probably about 6 or 7 seconds delayed. So if you guys have anything that you'd like to interject or anything that you would like to hear us talk about or start a conversation about, go ahead and just leave a little comment on YouTube. There's live comments. On my screen, it's to the right of the video, and I believe you do have to be logged in. So if you do not have an account on YouTube, it's as simple as a Google account, and you can set that up pretty quickly, log in, and leave some comments. We've gotten some comments from Eric Hammond. I tried to send him an invite, but he might be gone by now. I've seen my brother and Jeff Homan, a couple shout outs there to those guys. Thanks for joining in on the show. And I think Kathy Yoho might be out there too watching. I saw some Twitter updates from her.
Yeah, I talked to her through Twitter a little bit, so I know she is watching.
Yo, yo, yo ho! So, what are some of the things that you're excited for in the coming couple months, Ted? I know I
I
just
think
sprung
one of
that
the
on you.
things I had to think for a minute there. One of the things, honestly, is turning 30. Um, there were some big guys who had some large roles. They started at 30. One of them comes to mind. It's believed around the age of 30, at least, he started his public ministry. Um, my mom was sharing that her entire Beth Moore group, which is a women's Bible study that she's part of, they're all praying for me right now because in their study they're studying that David had a big year when he turned 30. So it's an interesting year, significant year as far as what my mom's telling me. But just I feel like it's one of those things where I've gotten into a little bit of a groove at the church, so now I can try and find my fit even better, and find some things that maybe I've been neglecting that, hey, I could be doing a lot better at. And then, coming up in February, I've owned my house for a year now, and so it's kind of gotten into understanding the ins and outs of that, and hopefully I'll have a working furnace by then. But so turning 30 is going to be one of those things. Another is just really excited to see where we go with our Christmas concerts. Um, they're a lot of work. They can be, looking at the schedule ahead of time, it can make you just really, go, oh my goodness. But every year we do them, I get a lot of great feedback from a lot of people who come out to the concerts and bring friends out to the concerts at the church and really just have a great time with it. So it's neat to see that all the hard work we put into it does help people, and really bring a sense of joy into some people. And then really just looking forward to spending time around Christmas with my immediate family. I mean, it's one of those times where between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it kind of reinforces for those of us who are lucky enough to still have a family around us that we get along with, that we relate well with. For me, it's a time where I get to really be thankful for the family I have and for everything we do for each other all the time. So I'm grateful for that. And it just hits at home when I have those conversations with people who aren't in such great relationships with their family, that I just appreciate all the more what I do have.
Yeah, I have some of the same things. I mean, I did just recently turn 30, and so I've felt for the past few years that God's been preparing me for something bigger in my life, and I still don't know what that is. I mean, I have some opportunities that are starting to come up right now, and I'm excited for those. Not really at the point of sharing them yet, but as soon as it's kind of public knowledge, I'll probably be talking about that here on the show. Another thing that is I'm getting more excited about, I'll put it that way, is the fact that my wife has she has an end date for her job at Walmart now. So at the end of this month, she will know. Is it this? No, sorry, I almost messed that up. At the end of next month, she will no longer be working at Walmart, and she will be able to be a stay-at-home mom. And it's a huge leap for us. I mean, we talked about that a little bit last week. It's a giant leap financially for us, and we're believing that God's going to provide for us. I don't know how He'll provide. Maybe I know He's already changing some things in our family life at home, and we're already starting to see some of the fruits of this decision that we've made to trust in Him. And those fruits haven't been financial fruits, but I think they're even better than financial fruits. Hearing my daughter call my wife just to pray with her, because I mean, if you don't know this, I only have a 50% custody of my daughter. She spends every other week with me and the opposite weeks with her mother. And while she was at her mom's house, she decided to call my wife, and just because she wanted to pray with her. And I mean that, seeing my wife's face when she got off the phone and she was about to bust out crying, just with tears of joy. And I mean, it was an emotional moment for me as well. And then my oldest son, Cooper, wanted to talk to my wife about baptisms. And my wife had just seen a number of high school and middle school students get baptized at our youth group here. And Cooper wasn't there. He didn't know that was going on. It just, out of the blue, when they were getting ready for bed, he asked my wife if she had ever been baptized, and he just wanted to talk about it. So that was a cool thing. And I think these opportunities probably would be missed if we weren't trusting in God with our finances. If we weren't in tune with where God's leading us, chances are we would miss these teachable moments and these God moments in our family.
Yeah, and you'd shared a lot of that stuff with me before, and it's awesome to hear the things that are coming out of this decision already, and I look forward to getting to see where this leads for you guys, because I love seeing what's going on with your family, and it inspires me for my hopeful someday eventual family.
Yeah, and I mean, I shared it with our boss Jonathan the other day, and I mean, he was almost frustrated that I hadn't told him before that. But
yes, he was.
Yeah, at the same time, he was excited for us because he knows what it's like to have both parents working in the family, and he knows what it's like to then have one of the parents who can finally stay home with the kids. And yes, it adds some burdens, but at the same time, it takes a lot of other burdens away.
Yeah. So, Tony, I don't know if you saw, but Kathy Yoho actually tweeted us and said that she wanted us to talk about how we find quiet time during a busy season like this.
That's a good one. It's really difficult to just find it. You have to make it.
Amen to that.
One of the things that I'm blessed with my kids going to school at the same place where I work, they start school half an hour before almost anyone else gets here. And so I tend to be here about 45 minutes to an hour before anyone from our team shows up to work. And so I have that time that I can sit at my desk. It's quiet around the studio for once, especially this time of year. I mean, it's never quiet in the studio. And I just sit at my desk, and I'm usually listening to sermons on my way in via podcasts, stuff like that, just to start getting me in that mindset. And I have that time to be able to spend in the Word and just do a little bit of devotional time and spend some time in prayer. And it definitely helps set my attitude for the day. I think I've struggled with when quiet time should be or when my vertical time should be pretty much all my life. I am not a morning person by any stretch of the imagination. And so when people say you gotta wake up early to do this kind of thing, I've always struggled with that because I don't want to wake up earlier. I would rather spend time with God at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning because I'm still up rather than try and wake up early. And I mean, there's times that I fall asleep earlier, and I've actually started falling asleep closer to 11 and midnight lately. But at the same time, no matter how early I go to sleep, it's still a struggle for me to wake up in the morning. I went through a period of about 30 days or so where I committed to spending some vertical time with God every evening and every morning, just to see which ones worked, which time worked best for me. And it was about the same either way. It was more difficult for me to do the morning stuff because of not being a morning person. But at the same time, I gained just as much from those morning times as I did in the evening. So it honestly doesn't matter too much what time you do it, as long as you're doing it and it's consistent. But there is something to having a morning devotional time, or a morning quiet time, and it kind of sets your mode for the whole day. If you start your day with God, you're gonna see where He's leading you the rest of the day. He's gonna help you in your conversations with people the rest of the day. You're gonna be more in tune with His Spirit's leadings than you would if you just did it the night before. What do you think, Ted?
I would agree. I am also not naturally a morning person. When I was substitute teaching, I found out that if I woke up at 5 in the morning enough days in a row, I kind of got into a habit of it, and it became easier, and it also kind of forced me to go to bed earlier. But as soon as I finished subbing and I didn't have to be up at 5, it was right back to sleeping in as late as I could, pretty much. It was over the summer when I went on the Nicaragua mission trip, and we started each day off. Well, we had the opportunity to wake up early before breakfast and do devotion time. And it was during then that I really realized that, okay, I can do a morning devotion if I really make it a priority. And in all honesty, I still have mornings where I sleep in too late and miss it and then have to work the devotion in later on in the day, or mornings where I'm upstairs reading my devotion and fall asleep while I'm reading it and need to work it back in later in the day. But I've been really trying to have a consistent morning quiet time, and I really think it is helping with, first and foremost, my relationship with God. Just really, instead of trying to think through things on my own, it's, okay, I got to pray about this first, or, all right, hey, I read some scripture recently that actually applies to this. It's amazing how when you're reading the Bible every day, you read some scripture applying to things in your life. But it also then helps my relationships with other people, because my attitude's a lot better when I've had my quiet time. And because of that, it helps with my relationship with the other people, where I can have those conversations, and conversations where maybe I would have been on edge before. I'm more at peace with it. I know what's going to happen, and I can lean on God. A big thing for me is politics, and I'm just reminded of a study we did with Dr. Jim Platt on the book of Daniel, where he just really laid into the idea that no matter what it might look like, God is still in control. So, whether the political party we like is winning or not, whether they're in power or not, God's in control and can work through any of it. So what's bigger, our government or our God? So it's one of those things where being reminded of that and going through Scripture and really just asking the Holy Spirit to teach me something new through what I'm reading, even if I've read it before, really helps to just get me on the right track for the day. So I've definitely been trying to make time in the mornings to do it.
So do you think we're going to get through a podcast episode before the election without talking about any politics at all?
Just because I'm typically a part of the podcast, I'm going to say no. But it's something that I think is really important. I actually had an idea the other day where I'm going to see who's currently mayor of the town I live in and see when the next elections are and see if maybe I can work my way into that office. Just start small, work my way up to 2020.
All right. Hey, Kathy, you're welcome for that. I'm glad you're tuning in. And Matt Heridel, I hate cats. I'm not going to talk about them.
Yeah, I just saw that comment come through. You should talk about cats. All right, Matt, here's my quick talk about cats. I like kittens. Cats are horrible. If I could genetically engineer a cat so it stayed a kitten the entire time, I would gladly own one. But until that happens, I've decided not to own kittens because the Humane Society would frown upon me adopting kittens just to give them back when they became cats.
That's what I think of cats. It's not that I hate cats. That's probably too strong a word. they they rub up against me, and then their dander gets in my sinuses, and I can't stop sneezing, and they they're they're kind of full of themselves, and they like to scratch and bite, and especially if you have a 4-year-old son that doesn't know how to be gentle. So those are my reasons for not liking cats.
Right now I'm picturing, was it Elvira or Elmira from the Tiny Toons? I'm gonna love you and hold you and squeeze you and pet you.
Yeah, either that or Tommy Boy. This is my sail, and I'm gonna love it and caress it and squeeze, and I'm ripping it apart.
Yeah, I guess hate's not the right word for cat. For my feelings towards cats, my sister owns a cat. The cat seems to enjoy me, at least enjoys my company more than enjoys my sister's company, which my sister does not like. But it's just one of those things. I like a dog. My parents' dog, Remy, love Remy. He's my buddy. But the cat, it's just because the cat, I think it goes back to something I discussed the other week where I said that the people that frustrate me the most are the ones where the reason I get annoyed with them is because of something that I struggle with myself. Cats are very selfish. By nature, by sin nature, I am very selfish. So when I see a cat and all it wants is everything to be about it, it just frustrates me. And I don't like being around it because it reminds me of my sin nature and the fact that I tend to be selfish at the core.
So here's something funny for you. For some reason, I jumped on the Journeyman Podcast Twitter feed, and one of the people just has a link that says kittens.tv/videos ... I mean, the link is apparently longer than that. And then I clicked to see all of their stuff, and that's here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 12 of their first 12 are all this kittens link. I don't know if they were hacked or if they're actually really into kittens, but I doubt I'm going to click on that link.
It might be Matt Heridle's secret secondary Twitter account, and that's why he asked us to talk about cats.
Oh, maybe.
Or it could be Feline from FM Live. I don't know. Maybe I'll set up a virtual machine sometime and use that to click the link just so we can see what it is without risk of infection on any computers.
Oh, there you go. Hey, it's interesting. I think it's fun to kind of watch social media while we're doing the show, because sometimes people tweet something and they're not necessarily listening to the show, but it kind of ties in. Scott Williams, who is a guy that's actually going to be coming to share with us here at Northway in one of the coming weeks, he tweeted that God, your spouse, and your kids are more important than your job. And that's exactly kind of what I was talking about. Exactly, kind of, yeah. That's exactly kind of what I was talking about with my wife and our decision as a family for her to step out of her full-time solid position and to leave all of that income behind to follow what God is leading us to do. And by doing that, we're putting God, each other, and our kids ahead of her job.
See, my question with tweets like that is then, as a single guy, does that mean that it's just God, then my job? Or, how do I rearrange that since I don't have a spouse or a family?
I would say
I guess I have.
I would say it's God, your future spouse, and your future kids. Because the way you act today is going to affect your relationship with your wife in the future. If you are spending your spare time looking at porn, it's just like Jesus says, if you lust after a woman, it's like you're having sex with her because I mean, you've already done it in your mind, and so it's just as bad. And that kind of thing is going to affect your relationships in the future, whether you like it or not. No matter how much you want it to not affect them, it's going to affect them. And I know Mark Driscoll has talked a lot about that kind of thing, and Tim Keller has talked about it as well. In both of their sermons, they've talked about how everything from pornography to premarital sex to even just cohabitating and living with someone before you're married affects your relationship with your spouse. Whether that person that you're living with becomes your spouse or not, it's going to affect that relationship. And I think one of the most interesting stats that I heard Timothy Keller say is that the divorce rate is actually higher for people who live together first than it is for people who waited to get married before they lived together. And the reason is that if when you're living together, you're basically saying, "I'm not sure if you're good enough," and so it's just this constant thing to you're constantly trying to impress this person you're living with to show them that you are the one for them, and so it's not a relationship built on love. It's a relationship built on proving yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading through Timothy Keller's book, The Meaning of Marriage, mostly because Pastor Doug Melder tweeted about it multiple times, and so did John Riley. But it was on sale through the Kindle store the other day for, I think, like $2.99, so I picked it up, and I've gotten through the first chapter or two, and a lot of it shares stuff that I've heard from other podcasts before and other sermons and ideas, but a lot of it was the same type of thing that, a lot of the stuff that you hear when people talk about sermons for married people and stuff like that can apply as single, but it's just one of those things where it's always trying to figure out exactly how that applies to me, that sometimes it takes a little while to figure out the best way to make that work then.
Yeah. So back to some of the comments. Jeff, you were saying that since we both have Max, there's no worry about being infected. That's not,
if only that were true.
Not entirely true. There are some Mac viruses out there.
That's why I always just go with a virtual machine. You can make one easy enough, and if it gets infected, hey, you just delete it. It's great.
Yeah. And speaking of the greatness of Macs, my Mac just reminded me that I forgot to plug it in, and I was down to 8% battery, so I had to reach down and plug it in so we wouldn't lose this podcast.
Well, that's probably a good thing you plugged it in then, Tony.
Yeah, we wouldn't lose everything that we've done up to this point because I've been recording it on the other computer, but still, it's kind of annoying.
That would be. So, Tony, you're going to have to keep me up to date on the comments because I had a second window open, but mine froze when I posted my comment, and I haven't seen anything since then. So,
Will do. There's not a whole lot of talk on the live comments on YouTube. We'll see if that sparks some more people to make some comments. I've actually seen more from Kathy Yoho on Twitter than I've seen on the YouTube comments, which is kind of funny.
All right. Well, I'm keeping an eye on Kathy and her comments, so we're good. Kathy, for the record, I'm a big fan of the Oatmeal. I have the first book. I'm looking to possibly buy the second one, and it is scary, the statistics on how often household cats do kill.
That's crazy. I don't want to think about that. I thought household cats only munched on the people that had already died. I didn't know they actually killed.
Oh no, it's actually the rough version is about 1/4 of the household cats still continue to kill, typically outdoor things like lizards and birds and stuff.
Well, that's no problem.
But 49% of the time, they're killing them just for fun. They don't eat it. They don't bring it as a present. They just kill it and let it lay there. So they're just doing it out of sheer fun and enjoyment.
They're evil.
Yes, they'd be a perfect companion for Dr. Evil, which actually I think my favorite ride at Universal was the Despicable Me ride today. It's one of those motion-based ones where you sit in the seats and the whole thing tilts and goes around. But it was great because you get turned into a minion. Oh no, spoiler. But it was just hilarious and a ton of fun.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of 3D movies normally, but we watched Despicable Me in the theater 3D, and my favorite part was at the end when the minions are doing their thing with the ladder and stuff like that. And the 3D stuff there was really fun. That's another thing that I remember about my trip to Disney World. We did go to a 3D show, and that was my first experience with like the real D 3D polarized glasses kind of thing, and it was impressive. I mean, it was. I'm pretty sure that the 3D images were going beyond us. Like you know how it's always out in front of you. Well, it feels like it was going 20 feet behind us in that show. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been enjoying looking at the production side of things, especially at Universal. Like you can see the Source 4 pars, you can see all the can lights. It's just neat to see how they do it.
You've been ruined for everything because you're working in production now. You can never go to another show, another concert, another event without looking at all the production stuff ever again.
Well, it's okay because I was actually ruined well before I took the job because I worked production stuff in high school theater and then volunteered doing production. So I'd already annoyed my family at Cirque shows going, oh, check out the follow spots they've got. Those are great. They're on the 3D articulating mount. And so I've been doing it for a while. I just kind of have learned to enjoy it a little bit more now because I can think of, hey, how could we make use of that instead of going, hey, that's pretty neat.
Good night, Kathy.
Good night, Kathy.
So Eric Hammond just put Android and PC for the win as one of the comments. He's back, and Eric, we'll convert you soon enough.
Eric, honestly, I have nothing against either one except for talking bad about Android annoys my brother to no end, so I like to do it as often as possible. But I mean, I've built my own desktop PC since I was a year out of high school. Maybe actually, we built our first one before then. But I've been building PCs. My first degree is in computer networking, so I love PCs, and especially for gaming. It's definitely still where the majority of gaming can be found. But for doing production work, my Mac definitely comes in handy and works a lot better to integrate with everything we have.
Yeah, there is one PC-based item that I would like to have, and it's something that 3-Day Respawn put on their Facebook page. It's the Xbox that's been converted into a portable gaming system. That looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, they've got some pretty sweet systems for them. I mean, the custom modded ones are really nice, where it's all in one sleek package. But even some of the new stuff they have for where you can just plug and play your system, where you take your console, stick it inside this package where it hooks up to a 19-inch monitor with a built-in surround sound or built-in sound system, and it's meant for being able to take and go where you might not have access to a TV or be able to plug in. There are some pretty nice systems out there now.
Yep. So, hey, for all you listeners out there that do like gaming, Eric actually approached me about helping him kind of come up with some designs for a portable tournament system. And if you have an interest in helping him out with that, you can let me know, and I can pass your contact information on to him. Or if you'd be interested in helping put that together financially, he does need to raise some money to be able to do that. And let me just kind of share the vision of this with you. From what I gather from Eric, he wants to have this portable gaming tournament system that he can take to churches and youth groups can use kind of as an outreach event. I think one of the hardest things to do is to bring people into the church, or to get people into the door the first time. And I think a lot of times, once they've come once, it's a lot easier to bring them back again after that because they can see it's not as scary as they might have thought originally. And so this gaming system it's basically 4 Xboxes, 4 projectors, 4 screens, and the networking to go between them all, and it allows for 16 people at a time to play a game together. And I mean, it could be as small as a 16-person outreach event, or it could be a huge event where it's kind of a bracketed tournament kind of thing. But it's a great way to reach out to some of the kids that probably stay at home. If they're not at school, they're probably at home playing games and surrounding themselves with unwholesome talk with all the little kids that like to swear because their parents aren't watching them, or whoever else is online on all these gaming systems that really just drag you down. And Eric, if you're if I kind of shared that well, you can let me know in the comment system. Maybe I'll try and invite you to the Hangout as well. You can maybe describe it a little better.
That sounds neat. It would be neat to have a portable system like that to be able to do it. I was kind of wondering how many systems and everything we're looking for it. So 4 systems with 4 screens.
Yep, and I think it'd be pretty sweet. I mean, I have a lot of experience in kind of designing stuff like screens and stuff like that, kind of on the cheap, and so I told him that I would help him with the design work. And hey, if he can raise enough money, can get more professional screens that fold up really easily. But until that point, I think we can come up with some stuff that works and get this thing really going.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see. It'd be fun to try and get an event going at our church too, because working with the high school ministry, I definitely know there's a decent number of people there that would probably be interested in playing some video games.
Cool. So what else do you guys want to talk about tonight? I mean, I'm sure I have enough content to put together the edited version of the podcast. But the biggest reason for doing this, other than Ted being out of state, is to get you guys participating. So you can send a direct message to me on Twitter or the Journeyman on Twitter. Either way, either direct message or just a mention. We'll catch either of those, or you can catch Tedward on Twitter as well, or you can leave a comment in the live comments on YouTube. And I will, if you have not joined us on YouTube yet, I'm going to post the link one more time on Twitter right now. Join the conversation. And then I'll retweet that. I'll retweet that for all my followers as well that do not follow the Journeyman yet. So we'll see if we get a couple more people in the live comments area. So Jeff, how annoyed does your girlfriend get when you're pointing out all the production stuff? And it's probably going to take like 20 seconds to get that response.
Probably, but as a side note, I just got very excited because the Mac Heist bundle has just unlocked BioShock 2. So anyone who bought the bundle now gets a copy of BioShock 2 for their Mac.
What is BioShock 2?
I'm very excited. It would be a game. It's the second in a series in the city of Rapture, an underwater. Well, it was supposed to be a utopia, but has turned to a dystopia. It's amazing how often that's used as the setting for a video game, where you get special powers from injecting serums into your body, where you can shoot fire or ice, have electrical powers, or a little bit of telekinetic control. But for me, it's just a fun way to be able to game when I'm not near my Xbox or when my roommate is hogging the Xbox, either watching shows on it or playing his video games.
Yeah, Eric just put a comment in there. Yeah, 16 players total. So I'm guessing that means that you're only inviting 16 people. I think more people could show up to an outreach event. But as far as players at one time, it's 16 players total at one time, which is pretty sweet. It'd be back to back to back to back. It could be teams of four, depending on the game, playing against each other, or it could be every man for themselves. But basically, you're going to have a big screen to watch that's going to be split four ways. So it's your viewing screen is going to be just as big or bigger than your home TV, your home big screen TV. But there's going to be four of them that you're seeing off of your console, but then you're playing against 15 people, and I think that'd be pretty sweet. I mean, it's a lot like a lot of the online games where you're just playing with other people online, but you are actually in the same place with them, and at the end of the game, you can congratulate them in person and get to know them a little better rather than just watching them either rage quit or leave the game. So.
Yeah, it also leads to all sorts of fun new conversations about, hey, screen looking. I know you had to screen look to get that kill.
Yeah, maybe. But I think the screens are big enough and it'd be spread out enough that you'd have maybe Ham Dog would be the referee, making sure no one's spinning around in their chairs to screen look. And Jeff, that's a good call.
I just remember.
Let me comment on Jeff's comment real quick. That's a good call on keeping those comments in your head. Anytime you're distracted by the either poor or great production elements at a show or something like that, it's a good practice to learn to keep it to yourself sometimes, because significant others can get rather annoyed.
See, on the positive side, coming to Universal with my sister, where she's volunteered with us for a long time now, she was pointing out some of the production things she thought was neat to me at the park. So I didn't feel so bad about it.
Yeah, speaking of production stuff, that's another thing that I'm starting to get a lot more excited about for this Christmas season. We had put some plans together for the concert and the Christmas series, and we're actually kind of starting to relook at that and redesign it. And the direction that we're starting to head now actually opens up a lot of creative avenues for me to really get creative with the lighting and video stuff. I mean, in the past, we've used giant screens, and yeah, there's a wow factor to the giant screens, and you can use them in so many different ways. But some of the things that we're talking about doing this year have gotten me excited again about the production stuff that we're going to be trying to do. And for me, yeah, doing the production stuff and using it as a creative outlet is awesome. But even more so, it's awesome to me that we are having an impact on the people that show up. I'm not sure if people are going to say, yeah, I'm going to go back to this church because they had some really cool lighting. But the atmospheres that we can create can help them engage in, whether it's a concert or a weekend service. They can help them engage in what's going on and feel connected to the service rather than just filling a seat.
Yeah, I'm really excited for some of the production stuff you guys have been sharing with me. And some of the ideas we've had. I'm interested to see where it goes, and I'm interested to see what came out of the spin meeting the other day that I had to leave to make my flight. So,
yeah, I was actually I felt like I was being called into the principal's office because we had to go into the big boss's office during that first part of the spin meeting, and it was really to talk about some of the creative stuff that I was kind of hinting at there. So. It's exciting. I mean, we've got a lot of options on the table that we're going to navigate through. We're kind of spending some time weeding through the costs associated with some of the stuff, and also trying to see how it all fits together over the course of this week. And then when we come back together next week, we're going to start making some decisions. So I'm excited for it, and yeah, I'm excited.
I'm glad you're excited, Tony. I'm
Woohoo!
excited that you're
Aesthetic!
excited.
So,
All right, so somewhere during this conversation, my phone actually got enough power to turn back on. So I'm trying to go back and look at the message you sent me earlier today with ideas.
yeah, I think we actually went over all the ideas I sent you. Have you met up with anyone
Yeah,
else
yeah,
you
it looked
know?
like you did.
Yeah. Have you met up with anyone else you know down there yet?
I haven't yet because we did Universal today. Um, I have tentative plans to meet up for dinner with someone from up in Pittsburgh tomorrow night. He and his family are down here, and it's really neat because I can definitely look back to a couple of years ago when he and another guy from our church were really close mentors of mine. And now, because of him being really busy and me being really busy, we don't see each other much. So it's just kind of funny that we've both traveled thousands of miles to go on vacation, and we might get a chance to meet up and have dinner while we're both on vacation in Florida.
Yeah. Got to travel many miles to meet up with someone that you live down the road from.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting idea to do that. I don't think any of my friends who still live in Florida have the time to drive out here to visit me, so I don't think I'll get to see any of them this year, but it'd be interesting.
Yep. Hey, Jeff. Another question for you, since you're the most active on the live comments board. How's school going for you? And we wait.
And Jeff, to give you a second question while we're waiting for the first answer, besides school, how's work going for you? Has it been as you're volunteering to do the homecoming stuff, or has it slowed down a little bit for you?
While we wait, I'll play a little didgeridoo for you. Too loud for you?
It's amazingly loud when it's confined around my ears. Yes.
Yes. I just, I
Plus,
actually just, I actually just wanted to see what it sounds like recorded. So,
the tones are actually really good recorded. I also was trying to let my sister hear a little bit of your didgeridoo playing.
yes, I've been learning some other techniques as well.
What? Jonathan gave Tony a didgeridoo for his birthday.
He made it for me.
Yes,
Thanks,
as Tony points
boss.
out, Jonathan made it for him.
I think he regrets every time I bring it in.
I don't know if he does, but some of us do at least.
Tell Erica she should show her face on the Journeyman podcast.
I don't think that's going to happen this time, at least, Tony.
All right. So I was talking with.
Erica, do me a favor. I don't know if I put the cold stuff in the fridge.
You gotta mute. Yes, make sure you get that cold
I
stuff
thought
in
I
the
hit the
fridge.
mute button. Yeah, I thought I hit the mute button, and then I looked back and I saw it was still on. I'm like, oh no.
What cold stuff did you leave out of the fridge? I mean, come on, it's gonna go rotten.
Just milk and orange juice, nothing too horrible.
Yeah, so I talked to one
Plus,
of
I
the.
keep the.
Go ahead.
I said, plus I keep the hotel room cold enough that it really shouldn't affect it that much anyway.
So Eric, He's back. He had technical difficulties. He says, if you guys want to talk a little more about the whole portable tournament thing, just let me know. Game. The bass sounds legit on it. Eric, should we try and invite you again? If so, leave another comment or send us something on Twitter. I'll send you another invite. Erica, can you make me a sandwich? Eric Hammond would like to know if Ted's sister can make him a sandwich. Eric, just so you know, she is in Florida, and I don't think it'll ship very well.
Yeah, especially since the only thing we have in the hotel room are, let's see, Lucky Charms, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Goldfish.
That makes a
and
good
milk.
sandwich.
So it would be a very interesting sandwich.
Yes. So I was actually talking to one of the older guys at our church, seeing if he'd be willing to come and join us, and he said definitely. He couldn't make it this week, but in one of the coming weeks, he's going to join us on the show. And he also doesn't mind me calling him an old guy. At least it didn't seem like that when we were talking in the lobby. But anyway, I really wanted to get some wisdom here, and I think it's going to be an excellent show when we have him on. He's one of the elders at our church, and yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. That's probably one of the things I'm most pumped up for with the show. So,
Tony, would that be Jim?
that would be Jim. Jim
All right,
Morrison.
Jim is also actually, yeah, Jim is actually also my mentor.
So that's awesome. We'll get a little insight from the other side of a mentoring relationship. And yes, his name is Jim Morrison. So we will have the Jim Morrison on the Journeymen podcast.
I think that week we should the theme music be kind of specific to a certain band. Maybe you can think of something, Tony.
I think I could pull something together. I'll have to do it in like 15-second increments so I don't violate any copyright laws with the posting on iTunes.
Yeah. Or we could just find like the YouTube videos of people playing it on like ukulele or something, and then I think that works out too.
Yeah, we could do that. Might be able to find like an 8-bit version or
Yeah.
like a Zelda-ish version. That'd be fun. Maybe an Atari version or...
I think we could probably find some 8-bit music of it, yeah. Now I'm actually debating, sadly, or not so sadly, I don't think, but I might have a repertoire of 8-bit music on my computer.
Right. And Jeff actually did respond probably a couple minutes ago, but we were talking about other stuff. So Jeff wants to let us know that school is good, not actually taking up too much time. The biggest thing is work. Work is still extremely busy running online marketing for my garden colors and trying to get new customers for that. Yeah, I mean, it works tough, especially when you're trying to do work and school and ministry. And make sure you're finding time for rest, Jeff. I know you've been here since the beginning of the show tonight, and you kind of heard what Ted and I were talking about. I want to encourage you to make time to spend time with God. Make time to breathe. Make time to rest. I know it's busy, and when you're doing online stuff as your job, it's easy to just sit at the computer and go right into that rather than spending time with God. But make a commitment to close the laptop for half an hour before you get started on that stuff and spend some time with God this week.
I would definitely second that, Jeff. We love you, and we love all the work and volunteering you do for us, too, but take that time, spend time with God first, and you might be amazed at how everything else, seemingly, you get it done, whereas you thought that that half hour is really important originally.
All right. Well, I think we're going to probably start wrapping things up for tonight. It's starting to get late. I'm getting tired. I'm an
Good,
old
because
man.
well, good because I'm getting distracted by Twitter right now because I'm watching Se Coop put tweets about Duck Dynasty on A&E up with such gems of wisdom, such as Jesse Duckman, one of the founders, saying, "The last thing I need is you turning your perfectly good jeans into jorts. Wisdom for us all." I mean,
Now, are they short jorts or are they long jorts? That's the question.
you know, I've never seen jorts look good on any guy, and so I'm just going to say it really doesn't matter, I don't think.
My dad used to wear jorts as swimming trunks. Like when we would go to Lake Erie, he'd be swimming in his jorts.
Oh, here's another piece to go along with that then, Tony. Redneck Wisdom from Jace Duckman. There's water everywhere. Jump in it.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. And I prayed last week, so it's your turn, Ted. Um, Eric, I saw your last message on Twitter, and I think sometime in the next month or so we want to have you on the show just to share a little more detail about what 3-day respawn is and the vision behind it, and kind of where you guys are headed in the future. And so I think that'd be a good addition to the show. Ted, why don't you close us out with a word of prayer, and I'll wrap things up for the episode.
All right. Father God, we come before you and we just thank you for a chance to use technology to just communicate over a great distance and yet still just get a chance to interact with friends and fellow followers, just talk about the things we see in our journey of faith with you, Lord God. And just getting to share some of what's going on in our lives, whether it be vacation and the fun stuff involved with that, or sharing how we cope with the busyness and stress of work and those busy times all face, no matter what our job is. God, I ask that you would just really put on our hearts the importance of spending that time with you in the morning, of making the time to spend with you day in and day out, Lord God, regardless of the time, but just investing time in that face-to-face relationship with you where you can teach us, where you can lead us, Lord God, and where we can just really learn from you and spend that time growing closer to you, Lord. We ask that you would just encourage us throughout the week to just seek you more day by day, and to just seek ways that we can share your love with those around us. We ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Well, that wraps it up for today. This has been the Journeyman Podcast. We are the Journeymen. My name's Tony. You can catch me on Twitter at @TLamarca or Facebook, facebook.com/TLamarca.
And I'm Ted Dietrich. You can find me on Twitter at Tedward or on Facebook at facebook.com/Ted.Dietrich.
And you can also catch the Journeyman Podcast on Facebook and Twitter. On Facebook, it is facebook.com/Journeyman Podcast. On Twitter, it is at The Journeyman. And so you can catch us there or on our blog. It's journeymanpodcast.com. And you can find us on YouTube now, starting this week. If you ever want to see our uncut video, you can catch us there. Hilarity may ensue. Or you can get the edited version on iTunes or the blog. And it's there for your listening pleasure. We enjoy the conversation that we have with you guys. And it was awesome to be able to have some live conversation on YouTube and Twitter this week. And so that may become a, what's the word? Hey, there's an outtake for you.
It may become a regular occurrence.
Yeah, there's the word, occurrence. So really enjoyed having you guys communicate with us via YouTube and Twitter this weekend, or this week. And this could become a regular occurrence for us. So we'll catch you next time. This has been the Journeyman Podcast, episode 34. And we'll see you on the flip side. And now for an intro. You're listening to... Oh, come on, Ted. You're listening to the Journeyman Podcast, episode 34, recorded October 24th, 2012. This is the Journeyman Podcast. I'm T. Lamarca on Twitter. That's right. I think I've got enough good stuff for the show on iTunes. So if you were here on YouTube, I still expect you to download it. I will know somehow.
So, Tony, just a thought. I realized next week we'll probably have to record sometime other than Wednesday night because my flight is from like 8:15 till 10:30 or so.
Alrighty then. Maybe we'll do Thursday recording, and I'll just work on the edits a little later. So we will let you guys know on the Facebook, the Face Space, and on Twitter when we will be live next week on YouTube. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
Have a great week, guys.
Didgeridoo. I'd like to play for you my dying elephant.
Here you go, Here, Tony.
That was my dying elephant, the didgeridoo. And now a little didgeridoo to send you off. Good night. See you later.
All right, Tony, have a great night. Time for us to figure out plans for tomorrow and get to bed.
All right, peace out. Ending broadcast now.